Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and in this game, or in this video, we are going to finish the Spirits of the Forest game. There's really not that much left for us to do, just an updated where we are. We have our game, it functionally works, we can run back and forth, we can jump, we can, kind of go through the whole level. We have our camera follow script working well. The parallax in the background is working. So at this point, we're pretty close to being finished. The only thing we have to do is these spikes here, I want them to kind of retract or to kind of grow out of the ground when we get close, and then kind of go back down into the ground, retreat back into the ground whenever we go away. And I want when our player hits the spikes, I want to restart the level. Basically, that's the loss condition for the game. So I want to do that. Let's go ahead and do that first, because that's actually pretty easy. Really quickly, though, let's talk about how this spike works. So each spike object, and there's 4 of them in this level, each spike object has 2 colliders on it. It has a circle collider, which is a trigger, which is this right here. And it has a box collider, which is not a trigger, which is around the spike itself. Now here's how this works. Let's see if I can open up my animation window. And let's bring it down here. Let's see if I can explain this a little bit easier. Okay, so I have an animation attached to this spike object that when you go through the animation, you can see that the collider, the spike starts really small, and the collider around it is really small, and the collider grows with the spike as we go through the animation. Okay? Now I want to trigger that animation whenever we get into the trigger area. This circle here, this is going to indicate our area, which is the trigger, right? So I want to trigger that animation when we enter this trigger, and I want to trigger the reverse of the animation when we exit that trigger, right? When we get close, it wakes up. When we go away, they go away. Okay, perfect. Let's get into it then. We're actually going to do this all in our player script, because in our player script, we can set our player to trigger the animation on the other object when we get close to it. So let's go ahead and open up our player script. Alrighty. And in our player script, we have a couple of things that we want to do. Down here at the very bottom, underneath our isGrounded method, we're going to create a couple of new methods. The first one is going to be on trigger enter 2D. And this is going to happen. This is going to handle what happens when we enter that trigger around the spike. So in this, we just want to check to see if we're interacting with a spikes trigger. If collider.name, if collision.name equals spike, because they're all named spike. If we go back over here, sorry, clicking the wrong stuff. Oh, spikes with a plural spikes. Okay, so let's go back here. Spikes. There we go. And so if the collision.name is spikes, then we want to collision dot get component. So we want to get a component attached to the object we've collided with. And the component we want to get is the animator component, which is the component that handles all the animations, right? And in this, we're going to set a bool. A bool is just a Boolean variable, and we're going to set a Boolean that says in range. We're going to set it to true. Now, this is a lot like what we did with animating our main character, except for this, it's a lot easier because we're just going to trigger one animation if we enter it, and one if we didn't. So I'm going to actually copy this entire method here and paste it in. And instead of on trigger enter, it's going to be on trigger exit. And instead of changing that Boolean to true, we'll change it to false. And that's truly it for our on trigger and on exit. on trigger enter and on trigger exit. All right, let's go ahead and save this. And come over here and check. Ooh, I have a null reference object exception. That's not okay. Unity editor.graphics.edge.wakeup. Oh, that shouldn't bother us. That's Hopefully you guys aren't seeing that on your end. I mean, in your games. I might have done something playing around in this project that I wasn't supposed to. But it shouldn't affect the play of our game. Our game should still play perfectly. Player script is attached. We're good to go. All right, let's go ahead and play and see if, when we get close to the spike, if it triggers our spikes growing. So they're all the way down now. And as we get close, notice that they grow up, right? As soon as we get close, they jump out. Boom, we want to spike you. And then if we back up, they go back down. Okay? Beautiful. Perfect. And it should work for all of the spikes because we attach this to our... Ooh. That might actually... I might need to fix her jump because she may not be able to... She may not be able to jump over that spike from here. Yeah, we might have to adjust her jump height. Okay. So now the spikes are working the way they are supposed to. The only difference is, the only problem is when we jump on the spike, we actually want to reset the level and not just be able to stand on them, right? We want there to be some consequences for hitting the spikes. So because we're going to be doing some scene management up here, we have to add our Unity engine.scene management, and it looks like I've already added it. So you can go ahead and add that in using Unity engine.scene management. And then down here, we're going to create an on trigger, oh no, not trigger, on collision enter 2D method. And the on collision enter 2D method is going to also check to see if collision dot, because this is a collider, we need to do game object dot name. Yeah. See if that equals spikes. And if that's true, then we want to grab our scene manager. Dot load scene, and we're going to load this main scene. We just want to reload the scene we're on. All right, let's save that. Okay. So far, nothing crazy, nothing we haven't done before. We've triggered animations before. We've loaded scenes before, so nothing crazy. All right, let's jump on the spike. All right, and good, and it restarts our game, which is exactly what we want. Perfect. Okay. So now we want to start picking up these orbs here. We want to be able to, when we collide with the orb, we want to be able to pick that orb up. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to change some... Well, first, let's stay in our player script since we're there. What we need to do in the player script is we need to be able to set the amount of orbs we've collected as a variable, right? So let's go ahead and create a public up here. We're going to create a public variable, but we're going to use a keyword here that you may not have seen before in the context of variables. We're going to create a public static variable. It's going to be an int, and we'll call it orb count. And yeah, so the static keyword here, what this means is that we want this variable to be accessible by other scripts. You'll see why in a minute, but we want to be able to change this variable outside of this script. So all we have to do is indicate that it's a static variable, meaning it can be accessed by other classes. All right, and in Unity, every script is a separate class, right? Okay, so we have our orb count. Now, if we die, we want to be able to reset the orb count whenever we start the scene, right? We don't want the orb count to stay the same, because if we collect like 4 orbs and then we die, we don't want to start with an orb count of 4 in the beginning of the game. So here in the start method, let's go ahead and reset our orb count. Orb count equals 0. Okay. And I believe that's it. Actually, no, there's one more thing I want to do. I want to be able to exit the game from the level that we're in just by hitting the escape key. It's just, you know, this is a common thing. You want to just be able to give your player the ability to exit the game. So all we need to do is if input.get key down, and we'll say key code dot escape. Now this isn't really something that we can test. Application dot quit. This isn't something we can test because in play mode this won't actually do anything, but it will do something after you build the game and if you're running the game as a standalone game, right? Not in the Unity editor. If you are running it, then when you hit escape, the game will shut down, which is what we want. It's just a good idea to put this in your update method for like your player character. That way we can handle shutting down the game. Okay, I think that's it for our player script. I honestly don't think we have to do anything in the player script here. Oh, no, there is one thing we have to do. I was just glancing at my notes there. At the end of the game, let's go all the way over here. We have this this tree here, and let's see, the end trigger. So there's a trigger here on this tree. When we enter this trigger, we want to go to the end, or we want to go to the end screen, the next level essentially, or the next level or the end screen, whatever you want to do. For us, because we only have one level, we'll go to the end screen. But we need to be able to check to see if we have collected all the orbs, because we don't want to go to the end screen unless all the orbs have been collected. So here we need to go into our player script. We already have an onTriggerEnter 2D method. So inside this method, all we have to do is if collider.name collision.name equals end trigger, that's what I called it, and we'll do and orb count equals 8. So this will only trigger if our orb count equals 8 when we hit the end trigger. So then we'll do scene manager dot load scene. Hold on a second. Load scene, and we'll say end, because that's the scene that we want to load whenever we have that happen. All right, let's go ahead and save this. Okay. Alrighty. Now we want to actually be able to collect these orbs. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a script that allows us to collect these orbs individually, but we want to, let's take a look at our UI up here. Up here on our user interface, we have these empty orb areas on our UI. These are essentially placeholders for where our orbs will be added whenever we collect them. So for example, we have, let's see, we have holder 1, which is supposed to store an aqua orb. What we can do is notice that it's turned off right now. If we turn it on, then it puts the orb in that holder, right? So we need to write a script that will turn on these as we collect them, but will also turn these off as we collect them. So it'll turn those off if we collect it, and turn on the corresponding holder in the UI when we collect it. Does that make sense? And we also, let's do this too. We also want to fire off this collect sound effect whenever we collect the orb, to give us a little bit more feedback, some audio feedback that we've done something good. So let's go ahead and create a collect script. All right. The collect script. Pull up my notes here. Okay. So in the collect script, why did this not open? All right, hold on a second. Open. There we go. In the collect script, we actually don't need an update or a start. We can get rid of those. We do need to declare a couple of variables, though. We need to create a public reference to the game object. We'll call it UI orb. This is going to hold the user interface orb that we want to turn on when we collect our corresponding orb in the game. And then we need a public audio source. Nope, not audio behavior. Audio source called, let's call it collect. And this is going to be a reference to the sound effect we want to play. Okay, then all we need to do is on trigger enter 2D. We want to say if collision dot game object dot name equals player. If we've collided with the player, then this dot game object dot set active will be false. All we're doing there is, in Unity here, let's say we have this orb, right? This red orb. Let's click on him. All we're doing is we're using a line in the script to uncheck that box right there. We're just setting it active. Okay. So we're going to turn that off, but we're going to turn on UI orb. So UI orb dot set active will make that true. We want collect to play. And now we need to update our orb count, but remember that variable doesn't exist in this script. That variable is actually in our player script. But because we set it as static, we should be able to update the value of that orb count even though we're outside of the script. So all we have to do is reference the script that we need to change. So player dot and then orb count. Now notice it already found my orb count variable because it's the only static variable I have in there. And we want orb count plus plus. Okay, that's our entire collect script. That will handle collecting these things for us. So let's go ahead and save. Now we have a little bit of work to do in Unity to tie this collect script together. First of all, we need to attach the collect script to all of these. So I have the red orb selected. I'm going to shift click on the green orb. So I held the shift key and then I clicked green orb to select all of them. I will drop this collect script over here so it gets added to every one of them. While I'm here, we're going to add the same sound. Oh, hello. We're going to add the same sound effect. This collect, that's going to be added to every single one of them. We could do a different sound effect for each one just to make it a little bit more fun, but it's fine. We can just add the same collect sound effect. Now what we have to do is for each of these, we have to tie in the UI orb that we're going to turn on. So for example, let's open up all of these holders so we can see what they're named. Okay, so for example, this red orb is going to be red. The purple orb will be purple. The pink orb will be pink. Oh, I didn't grab the pink orb yet. Pink orb will be pink. The gold orb, oh, it'll be yellow. I called it yellow here. Whatever. Gold orb will be yellow. Orange orb is orang. There we go. Blue orb is blue. Aqua orb is aqua. And finally, green orb is green. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's test our game and make sure we can collect these spirits of the forest. All right, so this blue one right here, let's collect him. Awesome. So when I collided with him, it turned off that orb. It added the user interface orb up here, turn that on, and let's check our player. Where's my player object? Did we create that as a public? We didn't. Oh, we didn't create our variable as a public. I wanted to check my orb count, but it's not public, so whatever. Let's just make sure these all work properly. That works. Perfect. Okay, this is going to be a tough jump. I think I might have to adjust her. Yeah, I think I have to adjust her jump force. Let's do that really quick. So it's at 1200. Let's set it to 1500 and see how that feels. And let's actually make move speed just a little faster as well. Okay. Wow, she definitely jumps a lot higher with a higher jump force. Okay. If I can't make it here, that's going to be... Yeah, that was easily cleared. Yeah, so I'm going to have to tweak that a little bit, make it a little bit easier. All right. Ooh, this is going to be a tough jump. Okay. Not really that tough. Okay, so now that I've collected all the orbs, I should be able to go to the main, or to the end scene whenever I walk into this tree. And I did. Perfect. Okay, so that happened. That worked. Now the only thing we have left to do is down here we have this instruction. Press tab to play again. Press escape to quit. Okay, all we need to do is create a script that will allow us to do that. But let's save this scene because we need to attach that script to our next scene. So let's go to the end scene here. And we have our event system object here. So let's create a new script. We will call it End Game. Avengers End Game. And let's attach the End Game script to our event system here. Okay. Now let's open her up. Now there's really, this is going to be super, super easy. We only need to do like 2 things in here. Let's see. Let's talk about, okay, so over here in the player controller script, remember that's not it. Over in the player script, we had this thing right here. If input.getKeyDown escape application quit, right? We had that. All we need is to add that into here. So let's create, oh, I probably should have kept the update method, but that's fine. Update. Now we can paste that into here. Basically, if we hit escape, then we want to quit the game. The other thing we can do though is if input.getKeyDown key code.tab, then we want to, we need to add our scene management using Unity engine.scene management. Then we want to scene manager.load scene, and that scene that will load will be main. And that's it. That's the whole script. That'll handle our, U1 script or our U1 scene. We'll save that. Close out of here. Let's go ahead and save this scene. Hello. Save. And save. And then let's open up our main scene. Let's test out the game again from the beginning and make sure everything works properly. Okay. So collecting. Yeah, this isn't really that fun if she can jump way, way high. So again, I'm probably going to want to tweak the jump control or the jump force a little bit just to make sure it's not a super cheating game. All right, so now if I hit tab, it should take us back to the beginning, and it does. Perfect. Awesome. Now I'm going to purposely not collect this yellow orb because I want to check to see if the game will block me from going to the end scene whenever I get to the end if I haven't collected one of the orbs. And it won't. I'm like, oh, hey, man, what did I do? What's going on? Why am I stuck? Why can't I go back? Right? Okay, so at this point, the game works exactly the way we want it to. Now, if you find yourself in the position where, we have a couple weeks left in class and you're done with this project early and you're happy with it and it looks good, but you want to extend a little bit, you want to kind of push yourself, make a new level, right? All you have to do is duplicate this scene, which if you right click, there's not an option to duplicate, but if you hit Control D, it will duplicate, call it main 1. And in this main 1 scene, you can make all kinds of changes. You can move these orbs to different places. You can move the spikes around. You can even go into the terrain system down here. You can open up, let's go Window and 2D and Tile Palette. You can even go in here and paint in some more tiles so that you can like change the way this works. We can like use the eraser tool to kind of erase everything that we have in here, and we can start painting in more stuff. You can paint in a different level. Just kind of modify it and make it different. You can make it more vertical, right? Because you can change the camera controller stuff here. You can actually change the way the camera works. You can not lock the Y position and have it follow you on the Y. There's all kinds of crazy stuff you can do. Get in there and extend yourself. Build another level. Do it for fun. Do it for, for the fact that you want to show off what you can do. All I'm looking for, though, is that first level works properly. But again, if you want to extend yourself, I highly recommend building another level and trying to make it look as cool as possible. Hopefully you had fun in this project. Hopefully you've had fun in this class. And hopefully you have learned that writing scripts for games isn't as scary as maybe it sounded at first. And hopefully this is something you want to continue to do even after you're done with this class. Which, if you follow this video and your level works, then you're done. This is the last project. So I'm going to let you get started editing your second level if you want to do that. If not, go ahead and turn in this project, and I will see you in the next class of mine that you take. If this is the last class of mine that you take, then I'll see you as you move on to bigger and better things. But hopefully you take more classes of mine. Okay, thanks for paying attention, and I will see you later. Bye.